Hello, everybody. Today we're doing an introduction to Avicanna, an international commercial stage biopharmaceutical company with a focus on commercial products and a pharmaceutical pipeline. Avicanna recently scored a strategic partnership with NBA veteran Al Harrington and the NBA's Player Association. Today, guest speaker Al Harrington will expand on that partnership, champion the use of CBD in professional sports, and Al's leadership on social equity and minority representation in the cannabis industry. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to Aras. Hello, Ross. How are you today?
Doing good. Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
Great.
So thanks for joining, folks. My name is Aras. I'm one of the founders of Avicanna. I'm also the CEO since day one. We started our journey actually about 7 years ago. And prior to that, I was in the biotechnology world, specifically involved in cancer care. And we really wanted to take the approach of real biopharmaceutical developments, evidence-based clinical work to deliver standardized medicine using cannabinoids to patients around the world. After the last 7 years of R&D, clinical work, and commercialization, today we're predominantly focused on two main areas, which is medical cannabis and then our pharmaceutical pipeline. What's exciting is that the medical cannabis generates a lot of revenue for us. That revenue helps fund the clinical development. So in a simple sort of baseball analogy, the singles and doubles are funding the home runs. And while the medical cannabis is generating the revenue for us, it's the same pharmaceutical preparations as our drug pipeline. So we're also learning a lot about the products, about the clinical indications they work on, about the people that they're helping to treat. And that significantly improves the potential outcomes of our clinical trials and, again, our drug development. As a summary, we are a biopharmaceutical company. Because we operate within the medical and pharmaceutical realm, we get to operate internationally. United Nations Convention on Narcotics does not allow the export of recreational drugs, including cannabis. However, when you're operating within medical and pharmaceutical applications, you could operate within legislation in countries that permit that. Today, I'm excited to say we have completed exports into 19 international markets across 4 continents. This is all done through our own proprietary products, and our commercial pipeline includes pharmaceutical, medical, and nutraceutical products. We've been scaling up our revenue. We're at the stage where we're scaling up now. 2020 was our first early years of revenue simply through licensing fees, about $1 million. 2021, we tripled that to $3.3 million. And this year, we provided guidance that we're going to be approaching somewhere between $8 to $9 million. So we're tripling again. What's really exciting is the scientific platform. We built this company to be a scientific platform, a powerhouse in terms of intellectual property. And a lot of this really started from us being a part of a Johnson & Johnson incubator, which is called J Labs, and being the only cannabis company or cannabis associated company that has ever been involved with J&J. We've had mentorship and support from the senior executive team for the last 6 years, and we're still excited to be part of that incubation. In addition to that, we work with the biggest medical and academic institutions in Canada. I'll name a few. And that has really resulted in what is now 30 plus commercial products across various international markets. So this isn't very theoretical. This is a very practical case of taking products from lab, from research into commercialization. In addition to that, we've tied in our advanced scientific platform, our sophisticated products, with what is a vertically integrated infrastructure in terms of cultivation, extraction of the cannabis plants, which we do in Colombia, the country Colombia, where we are USDA organic and GACP certified. That really sets the stage for us to be able to deliver these advanced medical products with low cost and environmentally sustainable input materials. Quickly touching on the scientific platform, the company is comprised of 10 plus PhDs and MDs. This is a real scientific company. We have over 8 pending patents now in terms of formulations and the proprietary delivery mechanisms. Most of the work we do in terms of preclinical and clinical is conducted in collaboration with the biggest academic institutions in Canada. And a lot of it is done through grants, which is really exciting. We've attained probably about $2 million in grants over the last 2 years to be able to conduct our research. And we're doing all of this under federal legislation. So we operate under Health Canada, which is a Canadian FDA research licenses that allows us to do that. Again, the outcome is that we've so far put out 30 finished products, and you'll learn a little bit more about those products. In terms of collaborations, we are a small company that has the power and has had the influence to work with the biggest thought leaders in Canada. That means SickKids, which is the largest children's hospital in Canada, where we conduct clinical trials today on a rare skin disease. UHN, where we're testing opioid reduction in terms of chronic pain, where we have the only medical cannabis brand that's inside Canadian hospitals for dispensing at Sunnybrook Cancer Center. And we work with the other top leaders, again, including University of Toronto's Faculty of Pharmacy. So we take a lot of pride in being the leaders, and I think we've substantiated ourselves as really the thought leaders in the Canadian market, where it's federally legal to do this kind of research. And we've done so we can leverage off of that for a global marketplace. Getting into our products, RHO is our medical brand. So these are non-inhalation products. These are products that are designed to be pharmaceutical dosage forms, accurately dosed, highly bioavailable, and very accurate. And this allows a patient to have a reproducible experience, allows the physicians to give them dosing and titration guidelines. And depending on the clinical indication or the symptoms or the medical ailment, really the patient's trying to treat with cannabis-based medicine, we have a different solution for them. So in terms of dermatology, it's local creams. In terms of localized pain, for example, osteoarthritis or fibromyalgia, it's a transdermal gel. There's products that are like capsules that are very highly bioavailable, and there's sublingual sprays that are designed to act very fast. There's also water-soluble formulations that are designed to allow a patient to titrate through their beverages, through a coffee, through tea. So really the formulary was designed to be very convenient, but to provide more sophisticated cannabis delivery mechanisms beyond inhalation, which is something we avoid with RHO. So there's about 20 plus CBD, THC, and CBG formulations across those delivery mechanisms. And today these products are commercial across the largest pharmacy chain in Canada, which is called Shoppers Drug Mart, their medical cannabis portal, which is called Medical Cannabis by Shoppers, but also with the provincial retailers. So in Canada, we have to sell the products through the adult use channels through the province, meaning my clients are the Ontario government, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Saskatchewan, etc. These products have done really well in the pharmacy world. So within the Medical Cannabis by Shoppers Drug Mart platform, we're very proud to see that 79% of our patients are actually older than 40 years old, and 55% of these patients are female. This is obviously not your typical cannabis consumers or connoisseurs. These are actual patients that are benefiting from medical cannabis within a range of medical indications. Something that I'm very happy with is that our #1 selling SKU is actually a product that's designed for pediatric epilepsy. So today, our patients, specifically in UHN and a lot of the top neurological disorders in Toronto, Canada, are using Avicanna's RHO 50-0 formulation. That's pure CBD, 0 THC for seizure control. So again, this is something that we take a lot of pride in. Unfortunately, we are sometimes perceived as a cannabis company, but the reality here is we're treating patients. Sunnybrook Health Center and Cancer Centers, one of the most important medical institutions in the world. And this is the only place today in Canada where a patient can walk into the pharmacy of the hospital and pick up RHO medical cannabis. This means the oncologists, the physicians that know their patients are going to be using medical cannabis, whether it's for chemotherapy-induced nausea, pain, sleep, appetite, they now can control exactly what these patients are getting. They can measure their drug-to-drug interaction. They can provide the right dosing and guidelines. So arguably, one of the most vulnerable patients in Canada are relying on our products on a daily basis. Again, something that I'm very proud of. All of these products also translate into a pharmaceutical pipeline. So again, as we generate data on these products, as we learn more about these products, we are also utilizing that information to process these products across our pharmaceutical commercialization channels. Today, we've had a number of our drugs that have been already filed for drug approval in South America, specifically markets such as Brazil, Argentina, Ecuador, and Colombia. These are either through generic pharmaceutical applications, natural path, which means phytotherapeutic, or in Brazil, which is a massive market under RDC 327. That again is the stage for ultimate FDA and Health Canada level drugs. So if medical cannabis is our singles and doubles, the South American pharmaceutical preparations are the triples, but ultimately the home runs will be the FDA level drugs. And we're taking a number of our drugs through that process. Our first drug is Trunerox. This is a 10% CBD formulation designed generally for pediatric epilepsy. This is a similar product to what we have in the Canadian market, which is doing very well. This has gone through full pharma development and is utilizing CBD from our cultivation infrastructure in Colombia. This drug dossier has been submitted so far into Colombia, Ecuador, Argentina, and Brazil. And we do expect to have 1 or 2 of these countries approve the drug for commercialization this year. So again, the company is 7 years old, and we already are months away from having our first drug approved after having a number of our medical cannabis products approved internationally. The rest of our pipeline is mainly focused on neurological disorders, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, neuropathic pain, and those products have already been established, developed, have gone through pilot studies, have gone through pilot manufacturing at a pharmaceutical level in particular occasions, and these products are prepared to go and follow that same pathway in terms of commercialization. Other indications that we're focused on, one of them is EB, epidermolysis bullosa, which is a rare skin disease, and that's the product that is currently enrolled in a study at Sick Kids Hospital here in Canada. This is a rare genetic disorder in which the children unfortunately have open wounds that don't heal, and we're seeing very good early data in terms of the use of this product within that range. This will be under an orphan drug designation, and we will be pursuing that path as well. Just to get into the corporate highlights, the company is very tightly held by strategic shareholders. While we are a biotech and biopharmaceutical company, we are on the senior exchange, or we are on the TSX, which is the top exchange in Canada. However, Canada is, generally known as a commodity or mining sector sort of capital markets world. So we ultimately do think that it's a better fit for us to be within the US, where there is an appreciation for pharmaceutical products, intellectual property, and obviously a pipeline of drugs. And we are preparing for that. But with that said, today we are on the TSX senior board, which is where obviously the biggest companies in Canada are, and we're there as a pharmaceutical issuer. The company is very tightly held by institutions, by a lot of sophisticated investors that do understand the long-term vision. And frankly, we've been executing on that vision, so they've been very much supportive. We are seeing increase in revenue. 2021 was a very exciting year in terms of revenue scale and revenue growth. This is predominantly driven through finished products. So remember, these are proprietary finished products, and that is a major differentiation within Avicanna versus, again, recreational companies. We operate in high margin, very differentiated, high entry barrier product range, and we're not competing with the cannabis sector. We're competing with oncology, pain, sleep, and dermatology sectors. In terms of the management, myself and the rest of the management, the board, we all come from professional walks of life. I'm not going to bore everybody with the bios. What I can tell you is, again, we're not generally from the cannabis sector. We are from the biotechnology, pharmaceutical, management consulting sectors. And we took a very serious approach to the advancements of cannabinoid-based medicine across our platforms. Same thing with the board of directors. Again, these bios are available on our website. This is my favorite slide. And I get asked questions often about US federalization and the impact of US not federally legalizing cannabis recreationally. Frankly, it does not have a big impact on us. We operate within the medical and pharma world. I do believe when US federal legalization does in fact take place, it will make it a little bit easier for biotech funds, biotech investors, pharmaceutical investors, and of course, big pharma to enter. At the stage that Avicanna is at, if this was any other compound other than cannabinoids, I believe we would have already been acquired or had substantially more endorsement from the, let's say, institutional investors within the healthcare realm. But because of the lack of US federalization, that's the negative impact we're seeing, which is a little bit support. But in terms of commercialization, as you can see, we've put a lot of pins around the world. Each one of these check marks, each one of these pins is a particular division, a particular brand, a particular business unit activating in a particular market. So far, 19 international markets. And, Canada is now a $5 billion market. A couple of years ago, it was a $100 million market. So this is a trend that is growing, and as more and more international markets open, which are happening essentially at a weekly or monthly level, Avicanna's got a foot into these markets. We have, again, the low-cost input materials, we have the proprietary products, and we have the drugs. So we're very well positioned, and as we've already demonstrated, have the capacity to expand into these international markets, and we are doing so. Just to kind of wrap up in terms of the investment highlights, we believe we're a de-risk investment in terms of the companies in later stage of commercialization and in fact scale up. We've met a lot of our regulatory and key milestones. We have diversified our business across international markets and product segments. Experienced management team, we've been there from the beginning. This is not your typical biotech or typical CPG. We understand the regulatory complexities of this industry. We are intellectual property powerhouse. We own old intellectual property that we're utilizing, and we're disrupting the pharmaceutical industry. We believe there's a renaissance related to plant-based medicine, and we are leveraging off of that and putting out standardized products that are helping people. World-class partnerships from what you will see in the next slide from the NBA Players Association. My friend Al Harrington will be joining, and many other people, including the biggest academic clinical institutions, largest pharmacy chains. There's certainly a lot of validation in terms of what we've already accomplished. And then the vertical integration really allows us to control our destiny. This allows us to know exactly how to control our destiny and deliver on that. Two recent news that I wanted to add into this presentation. Al will be joining the call in a few minutes. Replay is Al Harrington's sports recovery brand. Avicanna is the scientific partner behind it. We did a lot of the formulation development. We've done the preclinical studies for that. And Al and the Replay team were very excited to announce a couple of weeks ago that we got the NBA Players Association to officially endorse the product line, officially endorse the brand, and to make it really the sports recovery brand. They were the first one to be endorsed by Major League. We even got their logo on our packaging with the NBA Players Association. So I'm very excited about the potential of this in the US market. And we believe that's just the beginning of other athletes and major leagues getting involved. But of course, the substance, the science is the key as to why that NBA has chosen Al Harrington and of course their partners Avicanna to be part of this. And then about 2 weeks ago, we announced a very exciting partnership with our partners EI Venture. With EI Ventures, we're developing a brand of mushroom-based adaptogens, which will be essentially nutraceuticals, meaning these are products that are going to be over the counter. They're not psychedelics, they're adaptogens, meaning they're medical mushroom-based formulations that are going to be utilized for various mood or indications. And these products are already in R&D, and we believe we're going to be bringing them out to the market very soon. Why I love this particular announcement is it demonstrates Avicanna's versatility in terms of being able to deliver beyond cannabinoids. We are really a biopharmaceutical company with an established scientific platform, established distribution channels, vertical integration, and a proven track record of bringing these type of sophisticated products into the market. So I'm very excited about this partnership and to see where that's going to go as well. So I guess I'll stop here. Jeremy, if you have any questions from the audience or from yourself, I'm happy to take it. And I think Al will be joining us in a few minutes.
Okay, cool. So first question is, can you go over some of the products, the best-selling products that you guys currently have? You said that you have a very diverse product line, and you guys aren't just a white labeler. Can you just kind of discuss the range of products?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the clinical indication or the medical indication that we believe the product is going to help. So our number one selling product in Canada is CBD oil drop that's designed for pediatric epilepsy. So that product is very similar to the GW Pharmaceutical, or what is now Jazz Pharmaceuticals Epidiolex. It's a micro emulsion. It's an orange flavored formulation, and children have had significant positive effect with it. We have hundreds of patients that are relying on that product on a daily basis today. So that ended up being actually our number one selling product. Another product that sells very well is quite similar to Replay, but under the RHO brand, is a transdermal gel. So this is a gel that's actually designed to get into the deeper parts of the joints and muscles. And we know the outcome of that has been efficacy in terms of relief. So fibromyalgia, local pain, those type of benefits are come out of that type of product. So again, a very diverse range, but what we really provide with RHO is a formulary. We provide a toolkit to physicians, and that's what allows us to be a leader within that, but that's what allows the physicians then to select what type of products are best suited for their patients.
Okay. Can you go over the financials and cash flow and your CapEx needed for the next 24 months?
So, I mean, the financials are a function of what we release into the market. I think our last financial statement, we released a little bit north of $1 million of revenue per quarter. Our cost was about $2 million. We believe towards the end of this year, our costs will be lower than that, but our revenue will be towards $3 or $4 million a quarter, which considering our margins are in good shape, we're going to be in a position to break even again through just the early route to market business models. We don't have CapEx. The infrastructure has been built. Considering the market conditions today, We're not going to be raising capital to be building new facilities or infrastructure. All that's been built over the last 7 years. We're really in the scale up and commercialization stage today.
Okay, Bridget says, sorry, you may have covered this already. How much have you raised to date, raising currently? What's your long-term plan, acquisition, other?
It's a lot of questions. I love those questions, but to date, I think we raised around $50 million. A lot of that, 20 million or so, that was invested into our infrastructure in Colombia. We have 500,000 square feet of cultivation, extraction. In addition to that, obviously years of R&D and clinical work, and that's precisely why we don't have much more capex to do. Again, the investment has now gone into commercialization. Our long-term plans is really to continue to grow what we call conventional business, like the medical business. We believe medical cannabis has a position globally, and we think that'll be a heavy business or having a revenue driver internationally with a little bit lower entry barriers. But ultimately, it's the pharmaceutical pipeline, it's the pharmaceutical drugs that we believe are going to be the real home runs. So I think there'll always be two pathways in terms of medical cannabis and pharmaceutical. Third is going to be the non-cannabinoid based drugs and non-cannabinoid based nutraceuticals. So the vision in terms of long term is really to be a next generation pharmaceutical company, focus on plant-based or natural-based medicine. Acquisitions, we are looking and we are considering acquisition targets. The cannabis sector and anything associated to that, or really micro cap, has really been demolished in terms of market cap, but so has ours. So we're cognizant of that. We're looking at acquisitions, but we're likely going to do them at a higher valuation. But we're looking at plugins, and we're looking at strategic add-ins that can be created to the company in terms of our international growth that we're focused on today.
All right, Scott says the cannabis industry has been beat down by the market. How are you guys differentiated?
Yeah, and I think I covered that in the presentation, but I think the reality is the cannabis sector has been decimated because many of the operators were not real operators. They were promoting companies, and it was an easy sort of pump and dump in the earlier phases of the sector. Obviously, our team, we're here for 7 years. We're here to build a real company. A lot of the products that have been put out in the market, it's just weed, right? It's flower, pre-rolled flower, and there's nothing really differentiated about that unless you're a craft grower, and I think there's a market segment for that. But we don't operate within that route. We operate within the high entry barrier, completely differentiated evidence-based products, which then results to higher margins. So we operate within a high margin world. And then I think the third important factor is the fact that we're an international company. So we're not leveraging or relying on one country's legislation to cooperate. We're advancing in all these international markets and creating opportunities. Finally, we're really not a cannabis company. We're a biopharmaceutical company. We're working with cannabinoids. So that's these are, I would say, the major factors that differentiates us.
Okay. How do you expect the global cannabis regulations to continue to evolve? And where does that create the opportunity for Avicanna?
From what we see today, the cannabis regulations, generally, with the exception of course, Canada, which is recreational, Uruguay, which is recreational, all the other international markets that have allowed some sort of cannabis legislation is either only CBD or it's CBD and THC in terms of medical. So medical legislation seems to be progressing at a higher pace. Medical legislation seems to be the one that is easier, lower hanging fruit. And there's a lot of patient advocacy groups and physicians that are supportive of medical cannabis. So we do believe that while recreational cannabis is sort of the fast route to market, quick cash for some of the earlier companies, medical and pharmaceutical is a lot more sticky. I think it's going to bring a lot more opportunity in the long term to build a real business.
You have mentioned that your products are beyond cannabinoids. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so our pipeline of products and our products really are based on a scientific platform, which is to take plant-based medicine or to take plants, take their extracts, and to formulate them into standardized evidence-based products that can then deliver efficacy, whether that's sleep, pain, dermatology, whatever the benefit may be. Our earlier route to market products were, of course, medical cannabis. We do have our pharmaceutical cannabis-based products, but as I alluded to the EI Ventures partnership with Silly, we're already working on mushroom-based formulations for nutraceuticals. So these are things we can bring into the market immediately. These are not long-term psychedelic type of drugs that have to go through full toxicity, but we are building a pipeline of drugs that are going to be beyond cannabinoids. And again, we already have much of that infrastructure to do so. So we're very excited to really be a next generation pharmaceutical company.
What does your strategy for the United States look like?
So US, today is a state by state, they call them multi-state operators. That's on the recreational side. And I think that's a fantastic industry and it's a fantastic business opportunity, especially when the borders open up. Our strategy when it comes to the United States is really twofold. One is taking the FDA pathway in terms of pharmaceutical drugs. Again, the pathway that GW Pharmaceuticals successfully implemented in terms of getting Epidiolex approved. That is a longer term plan. It's one that is going to take patience and it's going to take hard work. We're already doing that process and we've already demonstrated that we can do that, that we can implement that process. On the other hand, it's more CBD related, such as a partnership with Al Harrington and Replay, which is leveraging off of the fact that CBD topicals under cosmetic legislation is permitted. So anything that is federally allowed, we are open to collaborating, operating in, but we are not, operating within the state level legislation, which is not federally approved. So the strategy with the US is sort of a slow, steady, long term, but ultimately that's the ultimate market to be in. So we are obviously aware of that.
How do recession fears play into your future calculus and strategy?
So one of the things we learned during the pandemic is, cannabis and cannabis-based medicine specifically, it became an essential service. It became an essential good, and I think when you're focused on the medical side, I imagine, or I believe that we're relatively more recession-proof than a recreational product, and I think we're seeing price compression on the recreational side. We're seeing a bit of commodification on the recreational side. On the medical side, that type of pressure doesn't exist. It's very different. These are patients that are benefiting from something. If a patient's kid is benefiting or a parent's child is benefiting from a product for seizure control, they're not going to, reduce that or to argue and look for a product that might be 30 cents cheaper or $1 cheaper. So I think that part of it is very, very important. And that's something that, again, we take pride in. One of the challenges for our organization will be to generate more data, generate more pharmacoeconomic data so that with that data, we can convince more insurance companies and more providers to actually fund these products. And I think ultimately that will be taking place as well.
What other sectors of the medical industry do you see as very opportunistic for your products?
What other sectors? I mean, I think it's across for sure pain. I think pain is an area that we see a lot of efficacy, and there's been a lot of anecdotal, there's been a lot of historic use of cannabis-based products in areas such as pain. I would argue that's probably the best historic use. We see it across sleep. A lot of people are utilizing cannabis-based products for sleep. Areas that are more unique to some of the work we do are more neurological disorders, which are more sensitive, and these are the type of products that shouldn't be sold in dispensaries. Again, epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, and something that's very specific to us is dermatology. There's a misconception that cannabis-based products are best used through inhalation, and that's not really true. For a dermatology product, you don't inhale the cannabinoids. It's a topical, right? And that's some of the examples we see. So we see it across a number of different clinical pathology.
Do you have plans for Europe or Asia?
Yeah, we're today much more active in Europe. We have not completed any transactions in Asia to date. Asia is the one continent we have not entered. Asia is relatively conservative. We saw Thailand legalize cannabis for recreational use recently, and as I was saying, there's more and more countries legalizing it. But Europe is a place where we have already completed transactions, I think, in 5 or 6 different countries. I think the European Union is a very good market for medicine, for advanced medicine. They care about the data, they care about the scientific backing, as do the Americans. So those are two very attractive markets for us.
Can you explain a little bit more about the mushroom product line?
Yeah, so there's, I think there's a little bit of a halo effect, related to psychedelics. I think we were seeing a renaissance of psychedelic-based medicine, which is fairly exciting. There's a lot of opportunity related to that, and I'm glad to see that the medical community, the research community, is opening up its eyes in terms of that part of the potential of, again, plant-based medical and pharmaceutical applications. These particular products are adaptogens, meaning these are more nutraceutical or medicinal mushrooms, including lion's mane, cordyceps, turkey tail, reishi. So these are a number of different mushroom formulations that do have significant benefit if dosed accurately, if put into a good formulation. And we're trying to utilize that. We're trying to utilize existing evidence to be able to bring these products to the market, already make some claims, and to be able to commercialize these products rather quick. It'll likely not be where we would stop. We're today engaged in research and looking at other plants, even controlled ones that may be psychedelics. But the nutraceutical angle allows us to put products in the market that are going to, enhance immunity, enhance cognitive, behavior, and enhance a number of different things immediately, bring it to the market fast. And I think we're at a realm today where the market is looking for delivery, looking for fundamentals more than, aspirational. So we're trying to always have a conventional, quicker route to market commercial business, and in parallel do a lot more exciting stuff behind the scenes.
What's the typical demographic profile of your customers on the more resale side?
Generally older. I think the younger audience, go into a dispensary or even a Shoppers Drug Mart and they buy their flower, their pre-rolls, et cetera, et cetera. Our type of products are much more focused on older adults in terms of pain, sleep, dermatology, or the cut. And, older adults, meaning older than 30, that are looking for products that, they can have sublingually or orally, then they don't have to smell like cannabis and they don't have to have some of those negative stigma and associations to cannabis. So our audience is much more sophisticated, a little bit older. There's Al.
Yep, we're just waiting for his microphone to connect. All right, it looks like it has. Hello, Al, how are you? Can you hear us?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
We're doing great. Just checking, just making sure everyone can see. There you go. Awesome. We're happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Al is the CEO and co-founder of Viola, a Black-owned multinational cannabis company creating premium products. Al's an entrepreneurial endeavors began in his MBA career when he was strategically investing in startups across the cannabis industry. In 2011, he launched Viola Brands in Colorado after overseeing the carefully curated cultivation, extraction, and production processes, with the mission to provide opportunities and ownership for the Black community. At the heart of the brand, Al uses his platform to advocate for a more equitable cannabis industry. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. All right. So, Al, you are a well-known leader and social equity champion in the cannabis sector. Can you give us a quick overview of your two companies, Viola and Replay?
Yeah. So Viola, that was the first company I started back in 2011. The inspiration behind starting the company was at the time my 79-year-old grandmother, who's now 90 years old, but she had come to see me, and while she was there, she was taking a bunch of medication. Asked her why was she taking so much medication. She gave me a long list of different things that she was dealing with at the time, and one of the things she said that stuck out to me was glaucoma. And when I told her, I started telling her about cannabis, she finally got to the point where she asked me, well, what is cannabis? And I said, well, it's marijuana, weed. And she looked at me and said, reefer? Boy, you out of your mind. I ain't smoking no reefer. But, she told me no that day, but literally I always say this was God at work. The next day she was complaining about eye pain and how she couldn't see. So, I convinced her to try it, had her try it. Hour and a half later, go down and check on her. And she was downstairs crying, reading her Bible. So it was the first time she had seen the words in her Bible in over 3 years. So that's what really inspired me to start into the space, educated myself. A year later, I made an investment in Colorado. And, since then, we've been able to operate in, 5 different states, domestically. And now obviously, in Canada, which obviously we were super excited about. And then on the replay side, the parent company of that's called Harrington Wellness. And, as I, continue to grow in the space, man, I just started thinking about athletes and kind of like what they deal with. And, the fact that I've had so many teammates, use cannabis for a lot of different reasons. And a lot of times it wasn't just to be high and be sitting on the couch, right? It was because they were dealing with things, or they were having injuries, or it was just a loud way for them to actually cope with things that they were dealing with in their lives. So, also I've, a guy that had 14 surgeries throughout my career. So I've definitely had my fair share of, pharmaceuticals and opioids and different things like that to deal with, the issues that I dealt with. And, I just felt like, what if we could use cannabis to deal with some of those things? I used an anti-inflammatory called Celebrex for 7 straight years, 2 in the morning, 1 at night, just to be able to keep my body, feeling good so that I compete at the top level. And then once I retired, I was able to use cannabis and use topicals, like the replay, topical that we have in the market now. And it's allowed me to have a better quality of life and be active and continue to raise my kids and, and just continue to just push on and just, be able to live at a certain level, physically, and feel good about it. So, that's the background behind, both companies. One was, inspired by my grandmother. The other was, focused on trying to, allow athletes to be able to recover, in a safer manner than, the options that they, currently were using.
Yeah, just I think a lot of us non-pro athletes don't understand how much stress goes on the body. Can you kind of explain, like you kind of just did, but a little bit more in detail, like what's the average professional athlete feeling from the pain side during the season, or the pressures to keep up?
Yeah, man, I think that, once you become, that level of an athlete, like there's no such thing as being 100%. I think that, even a guy like LeBron, who's, definitely changed the game in regards of preparation and, being able to take care of your body over a 20-year span and play at the same level, I'm guaranteeing you that he still has ailments. His ankle still hurt, his knee still hurts, and, I know for a fact that, myself and a couple of my other, guys that I was really close with, we always constantly was trying to feel better, whether it was taking a trip to Germany to go get a shot or, going to the other side of the world. We've always been trying to figure out, how can we feel better? And, that's just a quest that, every athlete is after. So, the pain thresholds that we deal with is extremely high, but, that's what we get paid to do, right? We get paid to perform. So, no matter how you feel, you got to figure out how to get out there. And even for me, knowing the side effects of taking Celebrex, as I tell people all the time, I'm first generational wealth in my family. I had to make that sacrifice. I had to take the chance,
Right.
but, who knows as I continue to get older, how those 7 years is going to impact my body long-term. That's just a chance I had to take, but that's the chance that all these athletes take. And, we are always, competing at the highest level, and we're not 100%. So I feel like, a lot of these products that come out, that's what they're trying to figure out. And, that's what we're trying to create, with our products on both sides of the house.
That was very insightful. I couldn't imagine walking around and not feeling 100%. I think that's something that most people take for granted, especially when trying to do their job, right?
Exactly. And I mean, and you think about even people, obviously a lot of our customers are weekend warriors, as they say, right? They work 9 to 5s behind a desk sometimes, and then they go out and they get their hour and a half yoga or whatever. And even they're not 100%.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, everybody deals, I think everybody can relate to it, and, that's where I think that we're trying to address that need and that issue.
Okay. Can you guys, both of you, give us a little more insights into the partnership?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was 3 years ago. We just realized it was 3 years ago. We met, him and I met, we started the original collaboration with Replay. I heard his story and he, the needs of an athlete, and we got a lot of support from the physicians and the team doctors and the trainers that Al has involved in the Harrington team. And we really took that information and then we transferred that to our R&D team and, you know, built the formulations that is today Replay. So that's where the collaboration started from. We both, I think, realized that we're quite aligned in terms of the vision, putting out real products into the market to help people. It's generally what we do on the medical side as well. And now we've expanded that to 2 different international markets, 2 different brands. And, you know, I think we're just getting started. We're talking about other countries every day. So that's my version of the story, at least.
Yeah, same thing. You know, I've just always, you know, me and Arise, you know, have we share a couple different investors, right? And, you know, I'm a firm believer in not reinventing the wheel, you know, and if you can find, you know, strong partnerships that can help you accomplish things that you're trying to do in a faster manner, why not try to partner and get it done? And, you know, when I think about, especially when you talk about the stigma and, you know, a lot of people not trying to respect the testing that has been done, you know, here in the United States, you know, he has real testing and real research, you know what I'm saying? So you can't fight that. So, you know, when you think about that, that gives your product or whatever you're working on instant credibility. And that's why I felt it was so important to be able to work with Arise. And then, you know, obviously, you know, meeting with them on a few times and realizing we see the world, you know, for the most part in the same way. It just made a lot of sense that we should, you know, try to tackle this together. And, you know, so far it's been a great relationship and a great partnership.
So you just mentioned skepticism. How did you guys manage to get the NBA and NBA PA on board with Replay? I imagine there were a lot of hoops.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing was, you know, talking to David Stern about it. You know, I had an interview with him, excuse my language, but whatever, 5-6 years ago now. And, you know, God bless the dead, but, you know, he was, you know, at first, when I first talking to him, he was laughing too, like, come on now, the cannabis can't help people. Like, come on, the guys just want to do it, you know? And, you know, I started being able to show him some research and tell him about some stories and different things like that. And, you know, by the time I finished educating him, and that's why I think that's where the industry is, right? Is the more and more we get a chance to educate people, they'll realize that, you know, everything that they think about this plant is completely wrong, right? They were told lies, and it was told lies from an ignorant standpoint because people just really didn't know. You know what I'm saying? So we've been able to do that. And, you know, talking to David definitely, you know, pushed the ball forward for me. You know, it became viral. It was on ESPN. You know, he said that players should have access to cannabis. And I think that once he said that, every league started to look at it, and you seen, you know, they started taking it off the ban list, you know, after that conversation. You know what I'm saying? It really started a lot of momentum to getting to where players now have access. And, you know, as far as with the PA, it was the same thing. It was after talking to him, then going to and you know, they put us through the ringer. You know, they toured every facility. They looked at every ingredient. They had all kind of doctors do all this research and call us and call Arise and this, and they were all over the place. But, you know, at the end of the day, you can't fight the facts. You know what I'm saying? As they say, the numbers don't lie. And we were able to provide them with factual information that got them to the point where they were comfortable. And here we are.
Awesome.
2 years later.
2 years later.
Yep.
So how do you, both of you, envision the future of the cannabis sector?
So I'll go first. I mean, I think that it's moving forward. It is here to stay. You know, I think the momentum is, you know, too far gone to scale it back now, right? And, you know, I think that, you know, during the pandemic, you know, it was deemed essential, you know, so I think all those little things just shows like that cannabis is here to stay. And, you know, now it's all about, you know, how we navigate and how we include more people, how we continue to help people. And, you know, that's something that we're just really excited about being a part of.
Okay. So Al, now that you're running an intern, I'm sorry, Aras, did you have something?
No, I mean, I think we covered a lot of that in terms of in my presentation, right? I think I agree with Al. The clock's not going back, right? We've already opened it. There's been a lot of mistakes. There's been a lot of growing pains. There's been a lot of things that I think Al and I would have wished we probably did differently, but more so the people in the sector did differently. But the reality is the products are very real, you know, and the potential is very real. The demand is real. The patients benefiting from these products is very real. And that's not going back. It's just I think things are gonna improve. I think you're gonna have handful of winners, real companies that are out there to do the right things. And I think the sector's only going to grow internationally from there. So I'm very excited about the future.
Well, you mentioned international. Al, now that you're running an international business, are you excited about the rest of the world?
Oh yeah, very, very excited. And I think that the way I'm going to get access to the rest of the world is through this man that's on this call with us. He has a great business down in Colombia that has, international distribution, and he has a lot of the relationships. So I think, as we continue, once we kind of lay our foundation, with some of the stuff we're doing here domestically and in Canada, I think over the next 12 to 18 months, I think that we will be able to start to spread our wings and look at some of these other opportunities across the globe.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
So Al, I hear social equity is very important to you. And beyond participation, you two represent ownership and being visionaries. What kind of example are you looking to set?
Man, I think the first thing is just, trying to continue to put ourselves in a position to have a seat at the table, right? Because, we just feel like our perspective is unique. And, in order for this industry to be all it can be, people of color has to have its impact on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't allow another industry to pass us by, especially one like this where, a lot of lives have been lost and ruined behind it, right? And people still, incarcerated, and, you see some of the stuff going on now, Brittany Griner and, Mon Shumpert the other day, you know what I'm saying? It's so much going on where, we have to make sure that we there speaking up for the people that don't have a voice, and, we feel like social equity is supposed to be an equitable opportunity. And, if they continue to put us in these positions where we can't take advantage of it, then that's not being met. So that means it's a failed process. So, that's something that I'm constantly working on, trying to figure out how to work with, a lot of these legislators and these decision makers on how, how these things need to be more inclusive, especially from an ownership standpoint, because, I feel like, obviously this is $1 trillion business, when it's all said and done. And, if, people of color can have, that seat at the table, meaning, that, 20% of the industry, you know what I'm saying? I think that that's where, generational wealth is created. And I think that that also puts us in a position to actually make the reinvestments in our community so that we can rebuild something that was destroyed, through cannabis.
Awesome. I have to kind of ask a selfish question. I'm from Virginia, and I heard you guys have a product called the Albertson. So that's
Right.
pretty exciting.
Definitely. Yeah, hopefully I can find a partner there at some point that we can actually get that on the shelf, because I know it'll do great, especially in his home.
There you go. There you go. All right. Aras, Al, is there anything else both of you wanted to let our viewers know?
I think this was great. Thank you for having us. It was a pleasure to actually speak to your specific audience. I think Al's story, his journey is an incredible one. Our story is a great one. And sometimes you combine great things together and you do even bigger things, right? And this is the beginning. We're excited to see the rest of the sector evolve, and we're certainly excited to contribute to that in many different ways that we're involved.
Well, I hope through this call, people are able to understand and not look at cannabis as, a drug, but look at it as a biopharmaceutical that has lots of opportunities in the sector. Aras and Al, can you both give your contact info before we leave?
Yeah, so I'm Al Harrington. You can find me at Al on Instagram at Al Harrington3. And you can find our company at Viola on Instagram, and our website is violabrands.com.
All right.
For me, same Aras Azadian on LinkedIn. My name is ARAS, and info@avicanna.com. And of course, we can get connected through you guys.
All right.
And replay and at Replay CBD as well. Sorry.
There you go.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. We will have this recording up within the next 24 hours. And if anybody missed these two gentlemen's contact info, feel free to reach me at jeremy@flyer.org, and I'll connect you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Al.
All righty.
Thanks, Rob.
Y'all have a good one, and this completes today's webcast.